Everyone loves the aesthetics and beauty industry, but you never get to see everything behind the scenes. It's for authorized personnel only. But now, you're being authorized.
We are in the operating room today.
Blow the dice for me. Put your pretty ass lips together, blow real nice for me. Yeah, I'm trying to hit a lip and slide to the dealership in the morning. Wow, Papa need a brand new story. Hot head, they not gonna believe it, but check the recording. Just touch that, up a few that. Big booty hoes with me in the pit. Bar full of liquor, cash for the strippers. It's gonna get weird tonight, so no, just with some money to blow. I'm about to buy Las Vegas after this roll. I'm about to buy Las Vegas after this roll. Come on, 777, let's go. Yes,
Hey guys, welcome to Naked Beauty Live. We are live, so if you're watching, this is a live show. If you want to comment, send something in the comments or DM us or what have you. You can always send comments, questions. We welcome it throughout the show. This show is very important. It's very much related to what I do for a living, and it's related to everybody's self-image. This is Body Positivity Month. And we're going to have a great conversation. I've got two guests to really dive into this deep. We've got a guest, Jessie Nealon, who is a body neutrality coach. We were talking about that, so you're going to hear about body positivity and body neutrality. She is an author. Well, we'll get to all of her credentials in a little bit. She's overqualified to be here with me today, so we're really grateful to have her on. And we have Ileana Torres, who you guys know for lots of reasons. We're going to get to that. She has very personal experience with body positivity and body image that was challenging. And she herself is a mental health counselor and will join the conversation. But this is Body Positivity Month. Doing what I do as a plastic surgeon, it's hard to imagine that this has to be a thing. But as a plastic surgeon, I recognize how important this is to so many people. And it's controversial. If you take a look at a lot of social media, if you look at posts about people saying how proud they are about themselves or how they want to do this or they want to do that or just anything having to do with image, you'll see all kinds of posts on both sides of this story. People saying, you go girl, or you look great, or, you look fantastic, or whatever it is, whether it's, they want to do something or they feel great with how they are. And you'll also have trolls that are saying, if someone is saying that they want to improve something about themselves and they come see someone like me, oh, just go to the gym. Why don't you just go to the gym and get better? And then it really begs the question, is it really that important to anybody else, and why should it be? And how important should it be to you? And that's the whole point of the Body Positivity show that we're doing today. And, as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking we had a little discussion before the show about the difference between body positivity and body neutrality. And that's going to be a really important discussion when we get to that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about why we're having a show on body positivity, not just because it's Body Positivity Month. I mean, there's a month for everything, and we could talk about it. It's like National Hot Dog Month. We're not going to do a show on hot dogs. But body positivity is really central to doing what I do, and it really made me think about it. And I talk about this with a lot of patients. When people come to have me do something for them, they want to make a change. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get that change, because I may say no. They may have wrong reasons to want to get it done. I mean, these are very personally motivated things, and that's really what it's about, to have the right motivation and to feel good about the changes that we're going to try and make and be okay with however things turn out. But it starts with, where does it come from? Why do you want to make these changes? So let's look at how people think about themselves. And it starts at a very young age. Now, I did a little research for the show, and I want to talk about some statistics. Research in Australia, greater than 90% of young Australians in this one study had some kind of concern about their body image. 90%, more than 9 out of 10. That means almost every young Australian thinks in some kind of negative way about the way they look. That's shocking. That's a lot. Even in this country, a study was done looking at young women, 13-year-old girls. 13-year-old girls in one study, 53% of the 13-year-old girls in the study were, quote unquote, unhappy with their bodies. And here's the kicker. When you follow those girls out to the age of 17, that number 53 jumps to almost 80%. So what's happening with our adolescent and teenage kids that are thinking about this stuff and feeling like they've got to aspire to, they've got to make changes to their body image to feel comfortable about themselves? Should they really? Or, why is it important? So we start thinking about, why did this happen? What are the influences that most of these adolescents and teenagers have? Well, social media. I know my son, 17 years old, cannot put his damn phone down for a minute. He's constantly flipping through something. Now, he's looking at a lot of sports, and he's not looking at a lot of the stuff that young girls look at that are really less than body positive for all shapes and sizes, I will tell you. A lot of what these young kids are seeing is aspirational to them. So you go back all the way to the influences like Kim Kardashian, who is just being herself, but she puts stuff out there that is really hard to attain. She's a beautiful woman. She's had a lot of things done to maintain herself, to improve herself. And it becomes almost the norm for people to aspire to. And that's tough, especially for young adolescents that at that age, they're just discovering their bodies and trying to get comfortable with something that's changing constantly at that time of life. It's very difficult to settle in and feel comfortable. And, Kylie was an icon, Kylie Jenner, an icon for young women throughout this country and throughout the world. Her lips, her makeup line, everything was all aspirational for millions of young girls and not altogether realistic. So the girls see this and they aspire to it. It's been a huge influence on that. We're going to talk about a lot of these things, and we're going to get to the differences between body positivity, body neutrality, the idea of, when is being comfortable with yourself actually detrimental? When are you just, burying your head in the sand in the name of being body positive? And when is it the most healthy thing you can do just to feel good about how you are and not to be overly concerned? And we'll talk about all of that. When we come back, I'm going to introduce our first guest. We're going to take a break, so stay tuned. We have a word from a sponsor. If you're looking for a ride, you might want to, you might not want to check out an Oh Boy.
I really have to get home, but these ride shares are so expensive.
Try Oh Boy. Get an Oh Boy whenever you need a ride to go anywhere, and we guarantee you'll have the cheapest price because nothing else matters.
I'll order a car now.
Simply download the Oh Boy app and request your ride, and our driver will be with you momentarily.
Esther?
What's that?
Esther!
What'd you say? Speak up. I'm deaf in one eye.
Esther!
Ask her. Ask her what? Get in the car. I don't have all day. So download the Oh Boy app today, and you'll be on your way to getting the cheapest ride possible.
Caleb?
I only have one hour for recess. Come on!
I need to get to the airport. Are you sure you know how to get there?
I have GPS. I gave up my snack time for this.
It may not be the most comfortable ride, and you might not have the most professional driver, but oh boy, the price will be right.
Price is right.
Download the Oh Boy app today, because price is all that matters. When price... Not sure you should be looking for an Oh Boy, but thank you to our sponsors for sponsoring Naked Beauty Live. We're back, and I want to get going with our first guest. I want to introduce Jessie Nealon. Jessie is a writer. She's a speaker. She is a certified life coach, and her writing has been featured in magazines like Women's Health Self magazine, Pop Sugar, Refinery 29, very well published. And she is an author of a book. She's the author of Body Neutrality, Revolutionary Guide to Overcoming Body Image Issues. Let me welcome to the show, Jessie Nealon. Jessie, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. My book is called Body Neutral, not Body Neutrality, by the way.
Oh, Body Neutral. Yeah, Body Neutral.
Just
that's
in
right.
case anyone wanted to look it up, it's Body Neutral.
Yeah, well, do look it up and go check it out. So, we had body neutrality in my head, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, I know. We just talked about it.
Well, Jesse, thanks a lot for joining us. Your career is really all about helping people overcome body image issues, and it's a little surprising to me that such a specific niche is a thing, and you can have a whole career based on it, because I guess I have a skewed view, right, of how this all goes, because I see people that are unhappy with one thing or another, but generally when we take our journey, they're happy in the end. They feel good about the way things are. And tell me, why is this such a big issue?
Like, why are people struggling with body image, you mean?
Yeah, where did this all come from? Why? Well, I mean, bluntly, I guess, why do you have a job?
Why do I have a job?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will very quickly say that I came from the fitness industry. I was a personal trainer in New York City for a long time. And I eventually realized that I was having the same conversations with people over and over. And a lot of my friends, my peers, other trainers, did like figure competitions. And so they would basically train so hard and then starve themselves down into like the perfect body to step on stage with a spray tan. And they would develop eating disorders and they would be less confident than ever. And I was just like seeing all this play out. And I thought, okay, with my clients, like it's clearly not just about how you look, or else those would be the most confident people in the world and nobody else would be confident. So that's how I got into this, was just seeing it really up close and personal in the fitness world, that like clearly it was about something else. And then I basically just became obsessed and started trying to figure out what it was about. So to your other question, what is it about? I can't blame social media because, my generation, like we didn't have it and we still struggled.
That's fair.
But
That's
certainly social media is not helping. It is exacerbating an existing problem.
Accelerating it, I think, right? Because all this stuff is right. It's there. And they're
It's
constantly
constant.
flipping it. You're right, exactly.
It's constant and it's enhanced to a degree that like, yeah, we had Photoshop and magazines and stuff, but we didn't have like realistic, body filters on a video. It didn't feel the same. It's very intense now for sure. But basically, in our society, we have hierarchies of people, right? We give higher value to people who hit a certain kind of standard across a whole bunch of different planes. One of them is hotness. And like, we give way less value if you're less hot. And that means being in a thin bodied, having conventionally attractive features, being very stereotypically gendered, like a masculine man and a feminine woman. These are things that give you higher status. We want status. We're wired for it. We want to be valued by our community. It's just that we didn't used to have like a 8 billion person community, like that wasn't really what we were meant for.
Well, not just an 8 billion person community, an 8 billion person community in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Always.
So all of those things are exacerbating it, but basically it just comes down to the fact that when we see people who look a certain way having value and being celebrated and being respected and getting opportunities and people are treating them nicely, and we see all the stories of them falling in love at the end of a movie, like we want all the things that's associated with it. And so we go, okay, well then I'll try to get thin and hot.
And if you
It's like
can't,
not a bad strategy.
well, I get it, right.
it works.
And that's not necessarily bad. It's just that making that the overall priority, that's the difficulty, right? I mean, when people aspire and have a hard time getting there, or maybe they're aspiring for the wrong reasons. It's just an unhealthy infatuation or fixation.
In my book, I talked about like a trainer guy friend of mine who literally just saw like turning himself into the Terminator as like a fun project. He had no body image issues. He just thought it sounded like delightful. How big can my shoulders get? How big can my quads and calves get, And I always hold him up as like, yes, he maybe had some like disordered looking patterns around food and exercise, but he approached it from a very genuinely safe place. Like he was not feeling bad about himself. He just thought it sounded like an interesting challenge. So yeah, the behaviors have nothing to do with it. It's like where you're coming from inside yourself, what it's connected to, and what you're hoping to get out of it. Most people don't just think it sounds like a fun project. They're hoping that if they look the right way, then, they'll finally find a partner who will be nice to them and never abandon them. And they'll get a job there. Everybody respects them. Like they're hoping for a fantasy that it just can't provide.
Yeah, well, you remind me of a story that one of my attendings, one of my teachers told me, and he was a very, very famous plastic surgeon, and he had a couple come in, young couple. Young guy was an actor, and he was there with his girlfriend at the time, and he wanted to have his nose reshaped, and so he saw him for a consultation for rhinoplasty. Decided, yeah, I'm going to go have that done. Had it done. Had a really nice result. He sees the surgeon. You say, a month or two later after surgery, everything's looking good. He's doing well, but he's not happy. He's upset, and he sits in the follow up in the consultation room, and he's kind of brooding about it. And he says, I don't like the result. It doesn't look the way I expected. It's not really great. And I'm not sure what we have to do, but I know we have to do something because my agent told me that if I had a straighter nose, the nose was better, then I'd be getting more work, and I'm just not getting much work. And they tried to have a conversation, and he excused himself. He went to the bathroom, and he's left with the girlfriend and my attending. And the girlfriend said, "Hey, listen, doctor, I think you did a great job. He looks fantastic. The truth is, he's not a very good actor."
Wow, yes. But that's exactly it, right? Like so often when people, it doesn't matter how they look because the thing that they're hoping it will get them, it cannot provide them. So then it ends up being a huge waste of time and energy. But it's not about the behaviors. Again, like you can get plastic surgery, you can work out, you can eat healthy, or you cannot, but like it really comes down to what are you expecting will happen on the other side? And is that realistic? Like will you end up satisfied because you thought you did a fun good job and it was just like the guy that I worked with was like, I just think it'd be cool to have done it because he's gonna win, right? He's definitely gonna get there and feel satisfied if he does it.
Yeah, and he felt good about
much
it.
If he doesn't,
right?
Yeah.
And he felt good along the way. So here's an interesting thing that I found researching for the show. In anabolic steroid users, the men that are using anabolic steroids to get bigger, to really max out their muscle mass, they're 3 to 4 times more likely to suffer from depression. And it's not an effect of the steroid use. I mean, the steroids don't cause depression. I think it relates to that. Are you ever going to get the carrot? You're chasing the carrot. Are you ever going to get it? And you sometimes don't.
That makes me think of a lot of my figure competitor and like bodybuilder friends where it's like they crashed out in terms of self-worth and confidence way harder after a show. Whether they won or lost, it wasn't about that. It was like, I thought I'd be happy looking like this and I still me. So
Yeah.
a lot of times it's like it's never enough because the thing you're pursuing can't get you the thing you want. It's never enough. So you just have to go further, be more extreme, try again, right? Get a second nose job or like diet even further. Like
Right.
it just becomes endless because you're not really going after the thing you want.
Yeah, so it really, mental health is a big part of this and just being in a good place. So it's a great time for me to introduce our next guest. I want to introduce someone who is, I consider at this point, a personal friend that, we've gotten to know each other. You may have seen the work that I did with Kay Michelle on My Killer Body, Lifetime TV. And one of our patients on the show, one of the cast members was Ileana. And she had a very unique problem with her arms, having had surgery before, having lost a bunch of weight, and had one go and things didn't work out great, and so she had to endure through all of that too, endure through having an expectation, a bad outcome that kind of left her not just unhappy with how things look, but functionally problematic. Right? She couldn't move her arms normally, and so she went through that. And we did that very publicly on the show. And she since has really flourished. She's come into her own. She looks great. She feels good. And she herself is a mental health counselor, helping other people and guiding them through the same type of process and with a very personal point of view. So, Ileana, I want to welcome you to the show. Thanks for coming on Naked Beauty.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, tell everyone a little bit about your journey and how. I mean, when were you a mental health counselor before this all started? When you started with weight loss, etc.
Yes, I've actually been a mental health counselor now for the last 14 years.
Ah.
And I had bariatric surgery about 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years after that, when I had thought that my weight loss journey was done, I had started the skin removal process. And I had met you after I had tried to go for a brachioplasty, and it left me with this arm. I didn't have the mobility to raise it. I think it was almost like past here.
About there, yeah.
When we did the surgery for the Lifetime show, my cousin took a screenshot of the television, and he was like, "What is going on here?" Because when I showed K. Michelle how much I could move my arm, he showed me literally was like behind my head, and I was like, "Yeah." He gave me my mobility back, so absolutely. So I love you at this point, absolutely, and I thank you because I can move better. I can be with my daughter better. I can do things without pain anymore.
And so that kind of highlights the idea that this is not always something that relates to just the way you look. There can be functional things to do, but we're talking really more about even more so mental function. Feeling comfortable, right? We're talking about body positivity or body neutrality, and tell us, for you, what does that mean?
I think I'm probably more body positivity, just because I have had to learn how to be comfortable in my skin, whether I was over 330 pounds or whether I'm 140 pounds. I've had to learn how to be comfortable at any point, and I think it's really important that you accept yourself, whether you're at the perfect version of yourself or not. I think it's very important that you accept yourself, because when you don't have acceptance, that's when it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to depression. Even if it's short term, nobody wants to go through that.
Agreed. But now, where's the line? And Jesse, you and I were speaking about this before the show. Where's that line between body positivity and body neutrality? How would you, the way that Ileana just expressed her point of view, how does that jive with your philosophy of body neutrality?
I would say it jives really well with my body neutrality vibe. I think it's just that body positivity is so much better understood, and body neutrality is a little bit more niche still. But the way that I understand it is basically like body neutrality is about being able to see your body without added meaning layered on top of it. Like, I'm a bad person, I'm lazy, it's just seeing it. So by neutrality, I don't mean you don't feel anything about it. I just mean you're not adding like a moral sensibility to it or making it mean something about your character or what you deserve in the world. From there, you can feel a lot of different ways, right? You can be comfortable, uncomfortable, but for most people, it's more attainable than trying to feel beautiful and amazing and confident and happy. Like, sometimes it's just a resting place before you move into something more like positivity. But for a lot of people, it's the end goal because that's what they can attain or because that's what feels best to them.
And that's sufficient, right? Just finding a place that's comfortable, finding your confidence level and your comfort level with wherever things are. And I think you're right. I think this does jive with how you felt about yourself pretty much through the whole thing. You didn't feel like you had to you didn't have to have the bariatric surgery, and you didn't have to afterwards have any kind of skin removal or body shaping surgery to value yourself as a person.
No.
And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Right.
I will give you a quick go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I was going to give you a quick example of like body neutrality in action, because sometimes you can do something about it. Sometimes you can't, right? Like, I can't make myself be tall. Well, actually, I guess maybe they're starting, but whatever. Most things that you can't control, like your only choice is either to be bothered by it and wish you could change it, or something along the lines of neutrality and acceptance. I got lip filler like 5 years ago because I thought it sounded fun and cool. And she did a great job. She did exactly what she was supposed to. And I just hated how it looked on me. I just didn't like it on me personally.
That's not for everybody.
And because I have body neutrality, I was able to like roll my eyes in the mirror every day and be like, good Lord, okay, whatever. Like this just
Well,
doesn't matter. It just
6
doesn't
months later or so, you were right back where you started. So
matter. Exactly. And I knew that and it's fine. But like it was a weird moment of like, this is definitely not how I would prefer to look. But I don't hate it enough to go get it dissolved or whatever. I'm just going to kind of be mildly irritable about my own life choice decision making for a minute and then move on. That's neutrality. And that's what it sounds like in some ways when you've learned to be comfortable, Ileana, you're learning to say like, it's not about my body size that I'm comfortable. Like I've learned to value myself, or maybe you always did, and that's why it's okay.
So it's interesting. The ultimate goal is just to be comfortable with yourself. But here's something that I found in the researching for the show. There was a study done in Switzerland. 1,000 women studied. And of the 1,000 women, 73% of them had a normal weight. But of those women with normal weight, 70% of those normal weighted women wanted to be thinner.
Wow.
More than 2/3 aspired to be thinner, and they were of a perfectly good weight. So that's not neutral, is it?
Certainly not, but it's also, it just goes to show that confidence doesn't really have anything to do with weight. I mean, it is informed by weight. It is informed by what we believe about weight and what's represented and, you know, who has access to what kind of respect and opportunities. But ultimately, like, being thin doesn't make you confident. So it's about something else. And my job is always to help people try to understand, like, well, what's the association or what's the fantasy that you think you would get if you lost the weight or looked perfect or got the surgery or whatever. You're still welcome to do it, but like, it's pretty important that you understand where it's coming from.
Well, yeah, it's important to me too. I want people to
Yeah.
have realistic expectations, and it's back to the actor that thinks he's going to get a lot more work when he has his nose done, and then suddenly doesn't materialize because he's a crappy actor. At the end of the day, that's the reality of the situation. But for my patients, I try. I mean, all of us really, all plastic surgeons, try and filter out the patient that has unrealistic expectations or the wrong motivators. Some of the red flags are about to have a divorce or going through a divorce. I'm about to be single, so I gotta be different because it didn't work out in my marriage, and so I've got to be better. Or
That makes so much sense and is so sad.
yeah, it is. I mean, and that's not someone that we want to get involved with doing a procedure. It's a bad reason, and so these are people that I tell, listen, it's a bad time of your life. It's a rough time. I'm sorry you're going through it. It's probably not the best time to make that choice. And you really want to navigate this part of your life, and when you're done, if it is important to you, then we can revisit it. And that the motivation and the idea of what the goal is going to be is important. So, but let's talk about, if we get away from the plastic surgery bit, just talk about things that people feeling good about their body at any stage. Right? Lizzo is one of my favorite examples of this because she is the poster child for just feeling great. I mean, here you see we've got her before and after image of her weight loss. And even before the weight loss, she was all about being her and felt great about being her. Now, she, for her own personal motivations, decided that she wanted to make a change. And she made a change, and she's still all about being her and was comfortable in each place. So it's curious to me that someone like Lizzo, who was basically the poster child for body positivity, made the decision to make a change. So it begs the question, when is body positivity or even body neutrality not the best choice for someone when they're in an unhealthy spot? How would you counsel someone like that?
If they're looking to undergo bariatric surgery or any kind of plastic surgery, I know at least for bariatric surgery, I do the psychological assessments. So you have to see, like when you're seeing your patients, you have to make sure the red flags aren't there. What are the reasons that they're having this surgery done? Are they prepared? What are their expectations?
Right.
Things like that. Because if they go into it thinking that the surgery is the magic bullet and everything is just going to be great after that, I always try to tell my patients, the surgery will physically do what it's supposed to, but it does nothing for what brought you to the point of needing the surgery. It does
Right.
nothing for your mental stability, for your mental health. That still needs to be worked on. So there are people who, I haven't said, no, you can't have it, but it's like, I have said, okay, before you get into surgery, you definitely have to have a therapist sign off that you're working on your issues. And that I have seen people actually be thankful for, because they didn't realize
Sure.
they were going into something thinking of it one way when they really needed to work on their mental health before they went and changed anything physically.
Jesse, what do you think?
I agree with you completely, Ileana. I love that you are in a position to be able to like guide people very gently and responsibly in that moment, because God, what a vulnerable thing to like
Yeah.
be asking for help with. So I don't think there's any moment where it's irresponsible to be body neutral or body positive, because I don't see either of those things as like sticking your head in the sand and abandoning self-care. I see them as supporting healthy habits always. It's just that those healthy habits might not be the same, right? Like a person recovering from an eating disorder, what's healthy for them is going to look very different in terms of food and exercise than someone who's been a couch potato their whole life and are trying to get in shape. So it might look different, but it really always is about valuing yourself, and therefore I don't think it's ever irresponsible or
But, well,
problematic.
Like your Terminator friend.
Yeah.
If the motivation is good and it's a reasonable position that they're taking, it's okay. It's not something that they need to be fearful about. It's not a bad time to do that. It's just, at these very influential moments in your life, these very emotional and vulnerable moments in your life,
Sure.
that you start seeking some answer. Sometimes that answer comes in the form of, I need bigger breasts, or I need a flatter tummy, or I need bigger lips that maybe you might like
Yeah.
and not like.
Do you know I got my lips filled very shortly after a depression wave hit, and right before I realized a depression wave had hit. So I was doing the same thing that I would advise a client probably not to take action on, which is like, I felt sad and I thought lips might be fun and cheer me up. But like, they don't cure depression, and they didn't help, and I didn't like them anyway. So yes, that stuff matters, which is maybe a reason to slow your decision making.
Sure. Well, it's not dissimilar from the pack of cookies you're grabbing at midnight. Right?
Sure.
If you're unhappy with yourself, or you're stressed out or depressed about something, comfort food is called comfort food for a reason. But, it's not far-fetched to think of comfort filler or comfort surgery in the same way.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And I wanted to go back to the Lizzo thing just for a second, because I'm not going to presume how she felt about herself ever, because who really knows? The more people I've worked with, you would never know, But I will say that trying to lose weight, going on Ozempic, whatever it might be, in order to feel more valuable or worthy of respect or belonging or love or opportunities, like that is very rarely going to pay off. But what does pay off is because we statistically recognize that people in smaller bodies are not discriminated against the same way that people in bigger bodies
That's a
are.
fair point, yes.
It is going to pay off in certain ways that really matter. So if you are being discriminated against for your body, I would never judge you for doing anything you want. Like, I wish you didn't have to. I wish this wasn't the situation socially, but since it is, I don't think we're in a position to judge anyone who chooses to deal with that any particular way.
Yeah, agreed.
Not wrong at all.
But I always invoke Lizzo, because Lizzo she's notoriously been comfortable with herself. Again, looking at her before and then after weight loss, she's been good with being Lizzo the whole way, right? 100% that bitch. And that's her trademark. And
Yeah.
I think she would say that that's true before or after weight loss. But to circle back around, body positivity or even body neutrality has a limit. I think there's this one thing that I see, I'd like us to talk about a little bit, is the contrived sense of being positive. Like, I know I need to be good with myself. I want to be I'm great. I love myself. I love myself no matter what I look like. But, should I ignore that I'm 300 pounds and 5'2"? Is that something that I should say, I love myself, this is okay, and validate that being in an unhealthy state is still great, having positivity. I think it's okay not to dislike yourself. I think it's okay, and you shouldn't. You should feel like, okay, this is me, but there's a line between feeling, all right, this is me, I'm a good person, I'm fine with who I am, but maybe I shouldn't be this size, or maybe I shouldn't, have these health issues that I could probably do something about. So you can speak to this.
I can say, as somebody who used to be morbidly obese, I did not like the way that I looked in the mirror, but when I was finally on the road to getting bariatric surgery, I had to keep going from specialist to specialist for clearance, and they kept asking me, "There's nothing wrong with you?" I said, "Nope, guess I'm just fat." And until I got to the cardiologist, and they were the ones who actually found that I think it was my right atrium was double the size that it should have been. So had I not gone for bariatric surgery and not gone through these tests, I wouldn't have never found that. I could have died from heart disease or heart failure with no symptoms.
Right.
Excuse me. So I know that whether I was before surgery or after surgery, kind of like Lizzo, and I love the fact that you said that, like, she is that bitch. You know what? There are people who I knew before surgery that are still great friends of mine, and there are people who I knew after surgery who are like, well, I think you've changed. Yeah, I think I have. I've lost 200 pounds. And you know what? I've lost a lot of the baggage that I was carrying with that 200 pounds. And I speak up for myself now. So.
But you didn't. So here's the thing. You're a strong person.
Uh-huh.
And you've always been comfortable with yourself, it seems to me. I mean, I've only known you for so many years. But just judging from your personality, it didn't happen overnight.
No.
And I don't believe it happened because you lost a couple hundred pounds.
Oh, no.
So, at some point you had to decide, I love me, but this is not good for me.
Oh, yeah. No, when I knew that my health was an issue, that was it. That was like, I could be comfortable being, I'm only 5'4". And the last time I stepped on the scale when I was big, I was 337 pounds. And I was like, not that I was comfortable, but I was like, that's what I weigh. But I never stepped on the scale again. But then when I got confirmation that what I was doing to myself by not taking care of my body was affecting my health,
Right.
that's when I knew, okay, I can't just say this is me. I have to take control of this, and I have to do something for my health. Doesn't hurt that it helped the way I look. I'm not going to lie. She's not wrong. I have gotten better treatment in a smaller body than I did in a morbidly obese sized body.
In that society, that's
that
easy to understand. I mean, just like you're saying, Jesse, there's going to be some peripheral benefits, some ancillary benefits to losing a ton of weight and just getting into a smaller frame because, listen, big people are discriminated against. There's no two ways about it. There are certain assumptions you make when you see someone who's really big. Your mind goes to a different place. You see that same. I mean, all of my patients that have lost a ton of weight, and I don't know if you still do, but almost every single one carries their big picture.
I have my side by side in.
See,
my
there you
phone,
go.
yep.
There you go. And it's something that you should be proud of and say, look, this is what I did, and I did it because it was important to me to do that. I don't know that really speaks to you having a greater value of yourself now than you did before, but it's an impressive transformation that you should be proud of.
I am damn proud of what I did.
Yeah, for sure.
It took nearly a decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
It's also a little harder to show people how proud you are of like personal growth. So having a visual can sometimes just feel really damn good.
Well, but when you take that picture out, and just to speak to like the response that people get when they see a big person versus even the same person a little smaller, how do people react? Looking at you now, gorgeous, great body, you wear these slinky body hugging clothes all the time. We talk about we did your arms, and I was the second person to do the arms. They're on display. I mean, you're not hiding them. There's a scar there, even though you healed marvelously well. It's not a thing to you.
Nope.
Because you are comfortable and you love the way that you look and feel about yourself. Think about people's responses if they see you now and you pull out that side by side. How do they respond?
No, that's not you.
Yeah.
No, it was. And that's how I know, oh, you're new here. You haven't been here for a decade. Okay. So, and I've started going to a new church about 2 or 3 years ago, Journey Church. Love you guys. But when I pull out that photo and they're like, no, how did you do that? I'm like, I lost 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's really you? Yes, it is. So that's it. It shows, but that's my story.
You know, a lot of people have the motivation to do that. And I think coming from a healthy place to have these things done is great. You know, feeling like you, Eliana, feeling good about yourself, but having the insight to know, hey, it's not good for me. It's not helping me. So, you know, making a change that's going to be positive for you while still feeling good about where you are and who you are is I think the best place to be to enter into these kind of life transitioning moments. There's a lot of young people that they're affected by what they see and the influences of society, and the one of the studies they looked at, you know, looking at young men. In one study, 3/4 of them, 75% of the men in the study, young men, we're talking, you know, under the age of say 20, had used some sort of appearance or performance enhancing substance. Young people aspiring to improve themselves and better themselves. Now, I see some of this because my son's an athlete. And it is shocking how young some of these kids will start using things like growth hormone and other performance enhancing things. And I'm talking 12 years old and up. I mean, ridiculously young. It's one thing if you really have a need for it medically. It's another thing if you're just trying to enhance your performance or to change your physique. You know, we talked about steroid users having a 3 to 4 times greater risk for depression. Yeah. Because I think the root issue is how you feel about yourself and the way that you're viewing yourself and not making your body image your personal image and value of yourself. Right? Yeah. So that's really what you talk about, right, Jesse?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I think neutrality, like seeing your body, seeing yourself with neutrality, I just think recognizing that it has nothing to do with who you are as a person, what you're worth, what your value to the world is, what you deserve. Like that's not the message we grow up with though. You know, that's not what we see represented. That's not what we hear. Everyone's like, oh my God, you know, you lost weight. Congratulations. Like you could have been sick or had an eating disorder. Like nobody assumes that though, right? They assume you worked hard and, you know, were a good person. And so we just have all these biases that need to be examined and unpacked, and so that we can just see things without adding all that stuff on top. If someone did work really hard and is really proud of it, awesome. But generally speaking, we just associate this stuff with our value, our, you know, what we deserve. And of course, the world does reinforce that by reinforcing bias.
It's true. So let's talk a little bit about pointers for people that, you know, maybe aren't in the best place, or, you know, if someone's young, if I have people that are watching the show that are under the age of 18 and they are the adolescents and the teens that we're talking about that are feeling all these sociologic pressures, you know, things that they see in Instagram and TikTok, the body images that they see in the stars that they want to emulate, that they admire. How do you get started? You know, thinking about their mental health, thinking about trying to be comfortable and being body neutral. Give me some of the best starting points, that your best advice for someone to frame the way that they see themselves. What's your advice?
So I feel like we see so much like talking down to kids that age a little bit, and it depends on the actual age group. Teenager is a wide age group, but when they're younger, it makes sense just to like never mention how they look and just build them up for who they are, and, you know, their innate value and what they can do and how hard they work and creativity and all these things, right? That makes sense. But at a certain point, they've already been exposed to the messages, and just trying to remind them, hey, you should be confident, is like a little too late. So with later teens, to be honest, I just talk to them like I would an adult. And I'm like, listen, your body image issues serve a purpose. They are trying to protect you in some way. Let's get really clear about what they're trying to protect you from. Is it bullying? Is it low self-worth? Is it anxiety? Like, let's just be real about it. And for the most part, later teens can do it the exact same way that an adult can. If they sit with it, they go, well, what I'd really want to happen if I changed the way I look or took the performance drugs or whatever it is like I'd get a girlfriend
There you
or
go.
everybody would be nice to me, and now we've got our answer. Great. Let's look at that so that your body just doesn't have to really even come into the conversation.
So take the focus off of body image entirely, and understand what the end game is for you. Understand what your goals are, and work towards that without making the highest value the shape
Yeah.
of your body.
Yeah, getting to the root issue of what it is that they actually need, that they think by getting a better body, whether it's smaller for a girl or bigger for a guy, a lot of the times it's like you said, end game. So what are you really trying to get here by changing your look? I know for me, I didn't do anything until it affected my health. And then once my health was better, then all the extra skin was affecting my mental health. So that's how I found you. But really, it's what's really underneath. And when I do counseling, there's a modality called Gestalt, where I take what's in the background and I bring that to the foreground. What are you really working with? What really needs to heal? Because there is pain from your past that needs to heal, and some people think, by getting this surgery, by changing this look, by doing this, I will get that. You might think you'll feel that way, but nothing's long lasting. Let's get to the root of what you really need.
Yes.
What is the best way if there's a 15-year-old watching right now, thinking, "Wow, I'm hearing a lot of stuff that I relate to. I don't know how to get there." How can they start a process? Can start some sort of introspection or just reframing their self-image? Where do they start? What would you tell someone that's trying to do that?
First and foremost, introspection is key. Like I said, trying to get to the root of what it is it that I'm trying to get from this. And after that, I would say, once you know where you're trying to get and what you're trying to do, let's go after that in the most attainable, the most productive, and the most positive way possible, so that we can get what you need. And if your looks change as a result and you like it, great. But let's really go for what, like a bariatric patient, if they're really coming in to change their health and they're not trying to look like the newest Mattel Barbie, then it's like, okay, then let's focus on what you're trying to do. Let's get the surgery done so that you can regain your health. Are you going to look really good losing 200 pounds? Uh-huh. That's an added bonus. But what we did was we went after the actual issue.
Jesse?
I would completely agree. I just coming from like the coaching world, I tend to give people writing exercises. So I always give people what I call like a body image fantasy writing exercise, where I have them write down everything that they imagine they would feel, that they would get, that they would have or experience, or that they would get to avoid and skip if they looked the way they wanted to.
That.
And then we look at that list and we kind of explore, what is that root cause? What is the real need? Like Ileana just said. And sometimes, honestly, it's stuff you can solve. Like, maybe I'd get a girlfriend for the first time. Well, we can talk about dating then. Maybe that's something worth building up some skill. And sometimes it's not. It's like I'd feel control in a world where I don't have any control. And that might not be easily solvable. But at least knowing what the real issue is takes the pressure off your body to solve it for you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, so reframing the target. Like we were talking about, you're constantly chasing the carrot but never get it. But maybe it's not the carrot you want anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to find an apple.
Yeah.
And you're looking in the wrong place.
Totally.
What is the best first step? Sitting down, making that list, and then, is this something that someone really needs to see a professional to reframe for themselves? Or is it something that someone can kind of start that initial journey in some way on their own? Just being introspective, trying to reframe how they see themselves.
I think you can definitely try on your own. There's nothing wrong with that, and some people will get there on their own. But other people, they've battled it for so long that they see things only one way, and it takes somebody neutral and maybe sometimes somebody professional to help get them across that finish line that they're looking for.
All right, not seeing the forest from the trees.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, because body and especially weight is such a sensitive and like emotionally charged topic, that a lot of times a kid especially, might say, "Hey mom, I'm feeling kind of insecure about my body." And the kid's mom might be like, "Ugh, I know, me too, right? Let's go on a diet," as opposed to going like, "Where do you think that's coming from? What's coming up for you emotionally around that?" Because it's just so charged and there's not a lot of information about how to have those conversations productively. So I think you can absolutely do a lot of great work on your own. There's books, there's free content out there. But if you're finding it hard to get where you want to go, like there's a reason that I have a job and, people do this work.
For sure. Yeah. So give me, for someone that's sitting down and trying to get this done, give me 3 tips. Each of you give me your top 3 tips. I know Ileana started the last time, but give me 3 tips for someone that, whether it's a teenager, an adult, male, female, your 3 keys to body neutrality or positivity. Your 3 keys to just feel good in your own skin and be comfortable. So, Jesse?
I am not a 3 easy tips kind of person, which is why I had to write a whole book about it, because I couldn't fit it in a post ever. But I will say that one thing that's super important, I think, is learning about your own internalized biases. And if it's about weight, for example, if weight is what you feel insecure about, or size, just learning about weight discrimination is an incredibly helpful, powerful tool. If what you feel stressed out about is not looking like dainty and feminine as a woman, or big and masculine as a guy, maybe learning some stuff around feminism and gender roles and expectations, like learning what's been unpacked already about the biases that are playing a role on a subconscious level is an incredibly helpful step. Other than that, I think just focusing on the fact that you are a whole person and how you look does not change your moral value. So trying to reconnect to yourself from the inside rather than the outside, which includes like connecting to your emotions, connecting to the wisdom of your body, your intuition, all of those things. And then I don't know. I don't know that I can come up with a 3rd easy tip. These are not easy tips. These are big deals.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a big topic. I know it's hard to filter this down, but you have anything your thoughts you're adding?
Let's see. 3 tips for body positivity. I would say know that wherever you're at right now, it's going to change. Because if you're in your 20s, I guarantee you when you're in your 40s, when you're in your 50s, you are not going to have the same frame. So accepting where you are right now is a great first step. Knowing that it can always change is also an encouragement, because if you don't like where you're at right now, there are things that you can do, diet, exercise, things like that. I would say the next key to body positivity would be making sure that you have a good support system, that you surround yourself with people who uplift you rather than bring you down. We can do miserable all by ourselves. We don't need the people that we're around to do that for us. So keeping your social and your support circle positive and productive. And a 3rd one, wow, this is hard.
You're doing great. These are so good.
And I would just say, love the skin that you're in, because whether I was 337 pounds or 140, life is life, and I want to make sure that I make the most out of life. So I would say, no matter what you look like, no matter what you feel like, every day is a blessing.
For sure.
Take advantage of it.
Fabulous.
That was so good.
So great. Well, doing what I do, we deal with this a lot.
Yeah.
And we deal with the positive side and the negative side. And I think just to round things up, if you're uncomfortable with how you are, that's okay. It isn't what your value is as a person, though. Understand that there's a lot more to you than the way that your face looks, the shape of your body, the size of your breasts, the size of your chest muscles if you're a guy, you know, how flat your tummy is. You are not defined by the the skin and the muscles that wrap you. And that doesn't define the value of your being. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make changes one way or another, wanting to gain some weight, to gain some muscle, wanting to lose some weight, to get to a healthier place, wanting to fix up some loose skin, whether it's after weight loss or just from aging, or maybe the changes to your body after having children, who are a whole other kind of blessing that we have, that we all, you know, can enjoy. Just when I see someone for a transformation of one type or another, it's important to me that I know that they're in a comfortable place in their life. So being body neutral is important. And I know this is Body Positivity Month. I'm growing on the whole idea of body neutral. Body positivity is good. But I think that you want to be aware that positivity does not mean saying it's okay to have yourself in a negative situation, just to ignore the problem that you may be living through, or whatever stressors or issues you might have in your life. Take time, do the work, recognize these things in your own life. Attack them directly, make changes that will help you feel better about relieving those stresses. It's okay to want to make physical changes to yourself. Just don't expect them to put you into a better place in life without you feeling the right way about yourself and making the changes that will actually move your life in that direction. Because what I do ain't it. You should feel good about where you are no matter where you are. But it's okay to want to change those things. It doesn't mean you don't feel good about how you are. This has been a really deep conversation. It's not typically what we do. Normally we'd be playing games of some kind at the end of a show, but I didn't want to, seriously, if you haven't watched some of the previous episodes, we've done all kinds of stuff, fun little guessing games, honey tastings, all kinds of stuff that we've done on the show. This is a serious issue, and it's very meaningful. And I didn't want to cheapen the discussion by making a game out of something. And so we're not going to have a game on this episode. I think the game is now sit down with yourself and do the things that we just talked about. Decide the things that are your personal challenges. Decide the things that you don't feel comfortable about, and think about why. And if you're thinking about making a change, ask yourself why. What is it you're hoping to gain from it? If it's just a matter of, well, I just don't like this and I want to improve one thing or another, great. But if it's, well, I'm trying to save my marriage, or I want to find a spouse, right? We're talking about meeting someone and getting a date. Whatever the motivation is, really think about what it is and make sure it's a healthy one for you. And just know, wherever you are, you're okay. This point in life is just fine for everyone, no matter what changes you might be motivated to want to do, or things you might like to do. And if you're having trouble making those type of conclusions for yourself and navigating these journeys, seek out someone like Jesse or like Ileana, and they can help you. So speaking of that, Jesse, tell me how someone can find you. First of all, check out the book, Body Neutral. And I'm sure there's everything we're discussing today and more. Besides getting the book, how can they find you and seek your help?
Yeah, so you can find me at jessiekneeland.com. I offer coaching and courses and blogs and whatnot. And then on Instagram at Jessie Kneeland. So it's just my name. And the book is available literally everywhere in every format that you could want. If you type in Body Neutral Jessie Kneeland, you're going to see it.
Excellent. Well, I encourage you to check it out, because everything we've talked about today is just a small portion of what I'm sure you'll find in the book and from Jesse herself. And Ileana, same question. Someone, particularly bariatric patients, going through that journey and trying to find comfort from in their own skin. I can't think of anyone that I would send someone to talk to more than you.
Oh, thank you.
How can they find you?
You can find me. I have a website. It's live. It's ibtcounseling.com, or on Instagram, it's also IBT Counseling. And on Facebook, right now it says Ileana Bianca Torres, but I messed up. I was supposed to put IBT Counseling. So you can find me under my full name on Facebook.
Well, definitely check out our guests if you're looking for some help with navigating these challenging issues. It's not easy, but it's very healthy to get to that place where you do feel neutral about the way you look, maybe even positive. Right? I think that'd be okay. Yeah, I was working. I've got Barbie is loving that whole concept of body neutrality because, listen, I think it's a winner. So Jesse,
Yeah, converts.
yeah, you converted a whole bunch of people.
Definitely want to read that
So
book,
we're
girl.
digging the neutrality. I want to thank you both for being on the show. It's a deep topic, and it was one that I didn't want to cheapen or belittle or make a gag. And one that it's as a plastic surgeon, it's a little bit more tricky to dance around. I wanted to have a real discussion, and honor the topic in a way that I think that I hope helps some people that are watching. And so I could not do it without either one of you. So thank you both for coming on the show, and check us out next month. We're going to be back with another Naked Beauty Live. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to be with you every month with a new episode. So this is our February episode on body positivity / neutrality. And next month, we'll be back with another live show. Always check us out live here in Instagram, in Facebook, in TikTok, and in YouTube. And if you are watching the replay, check out, or if you're not watching the replay, check out all the good social content we've got at Dr. Rubenstein, at Naked Beauty Live, or at Naked Beauty TV. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, or next month, in Naked Beauty Live.